Shuffle by Sean McDaniel. Narrated by Otis Jiry. I woke this morning with a migraine. I had never had a migraine before, so I must say it is quite the experience. I could barely think. The pain, was agonizing. Alas, I found no way to make the pain subside. It does not seem to want to go away, and my right eye felt as though it needed to escape my head. If things keep going the way they are, it just may. When I woke, I was on the floor of my apartment, a place I'm not accustomed to waking. The world around me seemed to plot against my every movement, everything seemingly in my way. Even my body seemed resentful to my need to stand, almost unnatural. I was born a man, not a rock. I have a need to get about and do things. It is my right as a functional creature that I should be able to move properly. My first thought was, dear God, I had a stroke. I couldn't remember going to bed last night, let alone the floor. My feet trembled violently, protesting my will to stand up. The trembles flowed from my legs and into my body. This all made no sense. I felt as a neglected machine being started after years of non-use. Now, on my feet, I figured I needed to get to a hospital, so I made my way, although it was slow going to the phone. I tried to flip open the cell, but it kept slamming shut. The dexterity was lost in my fingers. I could move them a little, but no longer could I wiggle my fingers freely or make a fist. After several more failed attempts, I gave up. The hospital is 10 blocks from my apartment. Although most likely ill-advised, I decided to walk those 10 blocks. Really, I had no choice in the matter. I was grateful to have a first-floor apartment. Every step gave me the impression the earth was trying to reclaim me. More and more gravity seemed to double, but somehow I continued to move. I felt like I was at the helm of some lumbering machine that had not been oiled in some time. It took me 1 hour just to reach the end of my block. That'd be 9 to go. I realized it impossible to try and go any farther. I needed to try and get somebody to help me. Everyone I passed by regarded me strangely. It was the look I had used myself on occasion. It was a look of detached disgust. It is the look one gives a homeless person, or anyone else for that matter, that finds themselves at the receiving end of a prejudice. I have no problems with most people, but I have stepped over 1 or 2 homeless people in my time. Not that I'm proud of it. I'm just a victim of my culture. I tried in vain to get people to dial an ambulance for me, but most just sneered. I suppose that the way I was moving was almost as a drunkard would. A few people even told me to get a job. This was outrageous. I had a good job selling cars. I could faintly hear myself calling out to them. I heard what they heard, and it came out as a low, gargled "rawr" instead of "please call 911. I'm in serious trouble" that was in my head. I turned, and for the first time since waking that morning, I saw my reflection. In addition to my apparent stroke, a case of palsy had set in parts of my face. My eyes resembled that of a bloodhound, and my mouth was slack and drooling. I also realized I couldn't feel anything aside from the pain in my head. I figured it was why I had so much trouble opening my phone. This was also, I found, the reason for everyone's negativity towards me, because in my current condition, I really did look like something that had fallen out of the bowels of a local pub. I saw a few hold their nose as they scowled at me. Then there was the smell. It was sweet, almost like good barbecue. My migraine had subsided a little, so naturally I followed my nose. I thought all through my problems, maybe related to blood sugar, and I should eat soon. In a way I was right, but I was not diabetic, nor have I ever been. My nose led me down an alley and down another path into another alley. I found a homeless man sitting by himself. He was cooking some hot dogs on a loosely fit homemade grill. I thought if I had my wallet, I'd give him all the money I had, but $100, if I could just have one bite. I found that a strange hunger was building, and I almost couldn't stand it. The smell of cooking meat drew me in, my legs seeming to move better, and the weight lifted from my shoulders. I drew closer, and he looked at me, holding tight to his finger. He had a grimace of pain, and I could see that he had apparently burned himself while cooking the hot dogs. The closer and closer I got, he looked confused at my movement. He motioned for me to have a seat and a bite of his dinner, still grasping his finger. I apparently looked bad enough for him to show mutual respect for what he thought was another wounded soldier thrown aside by society. Closer I came, and we were still locked in each other's gaze. I got close enough to grab a hot dog and look down to it. Strangely, I found it was not the source of the delicious smell. I could still smell the sweet smell in the air that had reminded me of that good old barbecue I once had in Kansas. My migraine was ever receding, being replaced by this intense hunger. I didn't know where the smell was coming from, but it was close, and I was lost in it, almost euphoric. I could taste the cooked meat on my lips as the scent hit my nose. The smell was becoming ever so intoxicating. It was the hobo. He had burned his hand, cooked it, if you will, and there was no stopping what happened next. I tried to stop, I truly did, but my body had taken over. There was something needed. It was something unknown to me that my body was suddenly craving more than my ability to stop it. I will never forget the look in the man's eyes when I grabbed a hold of him with a grip that was vice-like. I had no idea that I was capable of this. I then bit his face. He in turn screamed. His skull broke under another vicious bite. And that was the end of his screaming. The gray matter was sweet. It was sweeter than any piece of candy or delicious cake I have ever had. It is a strange thing, realizing you have become a zombie. But really, what can you do but go with it? So I kept eating until I had my fill. Feeling much better, also able to move much better, I decided to distance myself from the unfortunate gentleman now lying dead or dead on the ground. I did feel bad about what had happened, but I really did not have control over what had happened. I figure he will just have to forgive me because what else can he do? I watched him twitch his last death throes. At least I could show him his respect, after all. I had just turned him into food. I figured I should say a few words, but my mouth was no longer an effective means of communication. I then decided that if I were a zombie, and it indeed seemed that way, I would have to make peace with eating people. I frightened myself with the ease in which I accepted my fate. I was still myself, but who I was had changed in an instant. You never know what's going to happen in your life. You can adapt or fade away. I was in the mood to survive, even if it meant adjusting my morals some. I don't want to kill people. Really, I don't. I did make a decision, however quickly, that I would at least try to stick to eating people that wouldn't be missed as much, other homeless people, etc. Also, I needed to find who did this, if indeed there was a person to blame, and make them reverse it, if indeed it could be reversed. Until that day, I will continue to adapt and become what I have become. If I have become a zombie, then so be it. I will do what I need to do to survive as one. To persevere is to be human, even if not. Please, don't judge me, because I know not the things I may have to do.